For WeAreSC.com, I'm Angel Viscarra, joined by Garry, Paskwietz, and Darrell Rideaux, following the Trojans' Week 1 matchup here at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Joint Forces Day here at the Coliseum, a lot of things honoring our troops. We're truly grateful for them. But a really big thing that people were looking for today was JT Daniels, seeing how he would start off his career as a USC Trojan. And Garry, as this lawnmower goes by us, what do you remember from today's ball game? What are you going to remember? And does it feel like there was just an energy for JT anytime he touched the ball opening up the game?
Oh, yeah, opening up the game was definitely, you could feel it from the Trojan crowd. Anytime got the quick turnover and JT came on the field, you sensed that anticipation from people. It was a bit of a slow start. We'll talk about that, not JT's fault. But boy, by the end of the day, he gave USC fans plenty of reasons to understand why there is so much excitement about this young man. His totals at the end of the day were impressive, and he did what he was supposed to do.
All right, Darrell, and you mentioned you were able to talk to a few fans in the stands today. Was there a general excitement for what 18 was going to do today?
I think that there was this overall sense that something great was going to happen and you were about to witness it. Because make no mistake about it, when you're JT Daniels and you skip your senior year in high school to come out on the field to lead the Trojans into another Pac-12 quest for a championship, you think that something magical is going to happen. And it didn't take us long for us to realize why he's such a savant.
All right, and JT Daniels, a true freshman with a lot of promise here for the Trojans, but one guy who we know can get it done, Porter Gustin, a senior for this team, a team captain this year. Garry, how did his presence affect the ball game today?
Well, it didn't take long. Very first play, Isaiah Polamalu causes the fumble. Porter recovers it, gives the Trojans great field position. Then on the very next possession, he gets a sack. That had to be so gratifying for Porter, not knowing if he was going to play in this game, the first game of his last year as a USC Trojan, and to come out and make an instant impact like that. You could tell after the game he was pretty fired up on that.
So you mentioned Isaiah Polamalu. Darrell will ask about him, and also what did you see from the secondary today?
Well, I thought the secondary, considering the circumstances, played very solid. Well, make no mistake about it. I want to go back to Porter for one moment. Yeah. As a former player, I know what it's like to don the footsteps on the Coliseum floor and recognize that these last games here are sacred. And so for Porter to come out here and make the mark that he did, not only was it galvanizing for this team, but it also was uplifting for him. But as for the secondary, what I love most about what I saw was the corners competed at the point of contact. They battled, got a lot of deflections, and there's a reason why that they're one of the leaders of this unit. But there's still some new bodies in there, some new players like we talked about, that they have to work out some communication issues, and I think that they will going into the Stanford week.
Awesome, and going to the Stanford week, it's going to be a big task for JT Daniels, but maybe let's just jump back very quickly and say, what are you going to say you remembered from JT Daniels' first start?
Well, as you mentioned, it was kind of a slow start, and that was not his fault. It was uncharacteristic of the veteran receivers for the Trojans, Tyler Vaughns and Michael Pittman. They did not come down with some balls that they normally come down with, and that impacted JT. But there was a moment late in the first quarter where he kind of said, okay, I'm going to throw 3 in a row to my guy Amon-Ra St. Brown that I know from high school, and my chemistry with him is there. It seemed like that kind of kick-started him, and then things started rolling from there, and of course he had the magical play later on in the day, getting the ball deep to Amon-Ra and getting that touchdown. So when you look at his numbers at the end of the day, they were about what you would have hoped they would have been.
Fantastic. And we were talking a little bit about how maybe Amon-Ra was a bit of a pacifier for JT to calm him down in his first start. What did you see from Amon-Ra? Definitely didn't look like a true freshman.
No, he looked like a receiver well beyond his years. His poise, his ability to come back to the ball gave JT Daniels a security blanket. And it just reminded me that there is no substitute for chemistry. There is no substitute for the reps on the field. And there's some things that you just can't simulate in practice that comes out in a game situation. And when JT Daniels needed to settle down, like Garry talked about, who did he go to? He hit Amon-Ra in seams, a couple of a speed out route. But more importantly, it was that play, it was those plays early on that seemed to allow for this offense to get in rhythm. Then later on, it looked like he hit not only did he hit Velus Jones coming on the fly sweep, but he also hit Trayvon Sidney. And I thought that that's when this Coliseum started to roar, and they realized what a beautiful deep ball he threw and why he won the starting job.
All right, for sure. And Garry, you mentioned how the rhythm felt a little slow at first for JT, but we look at the way this game opened up, 14-12 at one point. USC is trailing. 4 field goals in the first half for Chase McGrath. He ends up breaking the USC record for field goals in the game with 5 today. That's got to be somewhat encouraging, despite the fact that you can't get the ball in the end zone, right?
You can't get the ball in the end zone, and Clay Helton said it was a bad thing. But no, I thought special teams had a really big impact on this day.
Yeah.
You look at Chase McGrath, like you say, those 4 fields, he ended up with 5. You got a nice kickoff return from Stephen Carr that really energized things. Tyler Vaughn's ended up taking over at punt return. He did some good things. And then you had a long return from UNLV to help set up one of their scores. So I really thought, but you look at Chase McGrath, that just said there were some people wondering about him coming into the season. He showed today he's fine, kicking 5 for 5 field goals.
Absolutely, and for USC, let's take a quick look at the running game. They obviously have their 3-headed monster of Malapei, Stephen Carr, and Cedric Ware. Said we're actually going for 100 yards on 10 carries today. Darrell, what do you think from the running game?
Well, I was pleased to see that Ware was awarded the starting job, considering that he toed the load all through spring in camp, and he shows why he's durable, and he waited patiently for this opportunity. I think the 3-headed monster poses such different contrasting styles that it's going to be hard for teams to game plan for that or simulate it in practice. And this team is going to have to rely upon the 3-headed monsters to really kind of carry this offensive unit until the offense seems to get in sync and rhythm. But Garry, considering that it felt like somewhat of a lackluster start, they still accumulated over 500 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. 500 yards with the true freshman signal caller. Not a bad thing at all. But looking at what UNLV was able to do today, usually that week 1 opponent, a bit of a blow-by opponent, but today, pretty good punch in the mouth from the Rebels. What did you see from UNLV?
Yeah, well, running the ball is what I saw with a quarterback that we had heard about, but he impressed me more than I thought he was going to. But anytime a team runs the ball like 300 yards against the Trojan defense, you know Clancy and his crew are going to get back and they're going to evaluate what happened because they don't want to do that, Darrell. That's not a number they want to see on the board.
And I believe that when they go back and watch film, that they'll realize that these are correctable moments. A little bit of over-pursuing, some guys excited, getting their first opportunity to play, a little misassignment and out of alignment. But this was a really good test considering the 2 opponents that they're coming up against.
Yeah.
You talk about Stanford, you talk about Texas, and then later on down, teams that really love to run the ball. The fact that USC was able to respond convincingly and really at times where it appeared as though UNLV was trying to gain momentum, this defense showed you why their experience is nothing that you can overlook. The fact that they were able to come back and really just kind of disrupt the timing in the passing game for UNLV caused them to become one-dimensional. Even though it was 300 yards on the ground, it didn't feel like UNLV took over the game.
Absolutely. You mentioned, despite the fact 300 yards looks ugly in a box score, 2 of those big plays were a fake punt and that reverse early on. So if you take away those big plays, the Trojans come away looking a lot better defensively, and I think Clancy's definitely going to get in there and get the guys fixed up. One comment that we really enjoyed that Coach Helton made was the fact that JT Daniels, no turnovers on the day. There was that fumble call that was reversed, and eventually USC retained the ball, but that's a clean game. For a true freshman to come out and not have any turnovers, you got to imagine you like that as a head coach.
Oh, I think you do. I thought JT handled himself very well in terms of the composure element, and Clay talked about it saying, hey, I looked in his eyes and he was fine. But one difference that JT did find out, he was walking into the post-game media interview session and he turned to Amon-Ra and said, man, are you sore? I'm really sore right now. So he felt the difference of playing college ball.
Man, I'm sore out here covering the games. Can't imagine him. Darrell, final thoughts from today?
Yeah, just welcome to Division I football. And I thought that JT showed us why there's a lot of optimism surrounding the Coliseum with him at the helm at quarterback. And as his receivers get on the same page with him, this offense can become very explosive. But look for the defense to clear up and shore up some things as they're going up against a much well-anticipated foe in the Stanford Cardinal.
All right, fantastic. Garry, your final thoughts?
I loved what I saw from the running game today. I particularly liked Brett Nealon taking over for Toa Lobendon. I thought he did a good job in the middle of the line, so I'm anxious to see where that trio goes because I was impressed with what all 3 of them did today running the ball.
All right, fantastic. Well, as the lawnmower passes us once again, we say thank you for tuning in with us. The Trojans come away with a 43-21 victory here at the Coliseum to open up the 2018 season. A 17-game winning streak is still active here at the Coliseum. That's the 2nd longest in the nation, so there's something to be said about that. The Trojans, up next, a NorCal trip to face Stanford next week, and what'll definitely be a test for JT Daniels. For Angel Viscarra, Darrell, Rideaux, and Garry Paskwietz, you're watching WeAreSC.com.